Guys, just got home from my comic book store and pulled a pretty hefty stack of books. Um, Creeping in more and more of the more expensive comics that I keep saying I don't want to buy. Um, Always ones that I'm making exceptions for, I guess. For instance, I make an exception for Gru by Sergio Aragones. I feel like this is specialized enough material that I don't begrudge them the 3.99. Although I am noticing now that all Dark Horse comics, except for the Mignolaverse comics, and even some of those, but just about all the other Dark Horse comics are now 3.99, which I have a theory about. But um, but that makes it hard for me to pick up too much Dark Horse because Dark Horse is a bit hit or miss. I would like to try out all their new books, but I don't regularly love them. Like not as much as I do Image, for instance, which generally are not as expensive. So I'm not going to try out as many Dark Horse comics as I might have in the past, thanks to that price increase. I did pick up one new Dark Horse one that I couldn't resist because the artist on here is Paul Gulacy, who is kind of one of those ones I loved as I guess a very young teenager, sometime in the '70s when he was doing Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu, and I always yearned for more of his artwork. So even though I know his artwork isn't the same now, um, I wanted to give it a try. It'll have to be awfully good, I think, for me to put it on my pull list. But the artwork doesn't look. There's shades of the old Paul Gulacy, and he was very Jim Steranko influenced, I would say, when he started out. Um, so it still looks pretty cool. I don't know if whether it'll carry this or whether I'll be interested in it. I feel like I should know more about the Rook. I know he was a Warren Comics character. Warren was the publishers of black and white magazines in the '70s, so they could put more adult material in it. They did Vampirilla and Eerie and Creepy, and very briefly, a magazine called The Rook. And I even think I bought an issue or two, but I just remember nothing about The Rook. I think in his magazine, each issue there would be like a 10-page Rook story and then other stories, just like with Vampirilla's magazine. But I might be remembering that wrong. It looks like he's a time traveling gunslinging monster fighter. So that sounds kind of cool. Yeah, so who knows? But the a lot of 3.99 books coming at me this week. Lumberjanes. There was a 4.99 Lumberjanes last week, a one shot that was quite thick. My daughter and I still haven't read it, and now this Lumberjanes comes the very next week. I assume this is going to be a continuation of the punk rock mermaid story of last issue of the main series. 4.99 is what we pay for Dark Horse Presents, but it is a pretty chunky book. I do have pause every now and then when I realize one of the things I've read is just a teaser for some comic they have coming up soon, like they did with The Rook, in fact. So I like it when they have continuous stories that are contained within the pages of Dark Horse and aren't just trying to lead you out to buy some other comic. I guess it would be fine if you got a whole story about some character here and then it wasn't to be continued in their own comic. So if Dark Horse starts doing more of that in here, I might consider dropping it. Like I was really into their Resident Alien story, but it turned out to just be a teaser for the Resident Alien series that they put out recently. I might get that in trade, I guess. I guess if I viewed it as something that gave me ideas for what Dark Horse comics I might like in trades, maybe that's a good deal. If that's combined with some truly unique ongoing stories within its pages, which I think it is, there are experimental feeling things in here. Someday maybe I should do a video comparing Dark Horse Presents versus Island. Maybe those are the two leading anthology books right at the moment. And then there's the occasional one from Vertigo. Anyway, on to books that cost me $3.50. I seem to have them ordered by price. I once heard a comic book clerk complain about customers who had their comics all jumbled up. If they were really nice to the person at the register, they would put them in order by price. So sometimes I do that, and I don't think the people at the registers ever notice that I've done that. Another part of my compulsive behavior, perhaps. But I'm not. I don't mean to compare myself to anyone with OCD or anything like that, because I am not that compulsive. I just occasionally like that kind of thing, but I don't have to do it every time. Wolf. I don't have this on my pull list, but I keep picking it up, so we'll see if this issue seduces me into picking up the next issue. There's a lot of elements in here that I like, and there's some other things about it that I find a bit sloppy. It seems like one that would make more sense to wait for trade, but I keep getting tempted. I pick it up, and I keep liking the covers a lot. That, I think, is a really awesome cover. The Fade Out, this is one of my favorites. Ostensibly a noir detective, Hollywood in the 50s kind of story, and it is a Hollywood in the 50s kind of story, but it's not like your typical noir detective story or anything like that. It's really its own beast, and I really appreciate it because I can't quite, it's not following like a predictable pattern or anything like that. Each issue feels like a surprise to me. Not in like a hook plot kind of surprise, but just a surprise of what it's going to be about and what characters it's going to focus on and what smaller turns. The smaller turns are more interesting than the mystery at this point. I do worry when a story is set up as a mystery story, sometimes all the charm goes out at the end when they're just busy sewing up the pieces of the clues and plots. But so far, no sign of that in the Fade Out, which I think has 2 or 3 more issues to go. BPR Hell on Earth. This is kind of a strange cover. Is that like a Viking ship or a monster that guy's sitting on in what might be a straight jacket? It's an unusually uninformative cover. Maybe it's something about some BPRD detail that I just don't know about. I've been reading BPRD, I think, for, I don't know, like at least 10 issues, maybe 15 issues, and it's been a steep climb in figuring out what's going on. But the last 3 or 4 issues I've enjoyed immensely. And obviously all along there's been something about it I've enjoyed and been intrigued by. I really should go back and read the first 115 issues or something, but I don't think I'm going to do that anytime soon. Oh, here's one. Now we're down to my last 4 out of this stack are ones that were $2.99. The price comics should be. Bizarro. This is an awesome cover. Bizarro has gone from strength to strength every issue I have loved in one way or another. It is an awesome book to read out loud. I think I read it to myself and then I read it to my daughter, or sometimes I read it to my daughter and then I read it to myself again later. Batman Arkham Knight Genesis, the genesis of the character Arkham Knight, as opposed to the other book, Batman Arkham Knight, which seems to be more about Batman than about the Arkham Knight. Go figure. But anyway, this has been awesome so far. Really great Jason Todd story. And speaking of Jason Todd, there he is on the cover as Red Hood in Batman Eternal. So kind of the reading will be kind of schizophrenic, split between 2 different Jason Todds. Another nice cover from Tony Daniel. I guess I'm appreciating his covers more than I did the interior work he did on issue 1. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Looks like we'll get more Dick Grayson, more Red Hood, more Cassandra Cain. And looks like a mob of rabid kids in the background. And finally, Gotham Academy, which I think I might have told them to drop from my pull list, but I'm not sure, so I went ahead and bought it. I have nothing against Gotham Academy. I've just kind of fallen behind on it since my daughter lost interest in it. So I was thinking maybe this was one to let go and make room for other books, and maybe pick up in trade or digital sales later on. If once I catch up to it, I want to keep reading it. That's a pretty awesome cover. Guest starring Red Robin. So robins are everywhere. I noticed in a preview online that Dick Grayson was in a Teen Titans miniseries they're doing right now, which I did not buy because it was expensive. So I might get the trade on that if it turns out to be good or feature Dick Grayson a lot. There are some others that I didn't pick up but might want in trades later. I can't remember. According to my app on my iPhone, there was a Godzilla book, a Godzilla in Hell, out today. Either my shop didn't get it or the app is wrong. I'm kind of glad. I'd rather spend the money. That's another $3.99 book. Spend the money another week. Anyway, I'm sure I'll be coming at you with more videos. I'll be watching your videos. Been having a great time in the comments with a lot of people. So all of you who've been commenting a lot, thanks very much. And talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.